get you a director's chair. I am live. We're just saying Mackenzie needs to get a director's chair. I had some really interesting conversations this morning with one of my clients, and we were talking about how to communicate why horses can help you build a team and why building a team is so important. And she was like, "Well, your horses are kind of like like they're like assets to the company, like machinery." And I was like, no, 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 more like employees or teammates, right? So I look at it and I got this little one here and I've got my other four guys in here, but how do you build a team? And why is it that and what could a horse teach me about it? So I want you to think about this. If you have a horse and you're out and they've been anywhere for any length of time, like this little one, they will know the way to get home. So if you're out riding in the woods and you can just put the reins down and they have a great sense of direction and they'll get you home. Horses know the way home. But the key piece about this is it's like, what kind of home environment have you created for your horse or your team, your work horses, the people that you're trying to build? And when you are looking at building a team, when you start at the beginning stages of bringing on those first 2 or 3 employees, looking at the dynamic of how many hats these guys can wear is critical. But as you start to grow, one of the things I learned from listening to Jamie Kern Lima speak was one of the toughest things. It was actually a question from the audience that she answered. She said, one of the toughest things in my business was they're giving the reins over, literally, because what happens when you give the reins over? That's what we control the horses with, right? Not at my house, but that's what you turn the reins over. And she said, when I had to turn the reins over and trust my team because I couldn't do it by myself anymore. And that's, as an entrepreneur, becomes one of the biggest challenges from going from that solopreneur, this is a little baby thing that I'm growing, to having a business where you have, 4.5 employee or 4.25. Are you a quarter horse? A number of people on your team that are now doing things like that you're not aware of, right? Like things that that need to be getting done, but they're getting done without you like knowing that they're getting done. Like that's when you're doing things that are bigger than you. And that's when you need to start thinking about how to support your team as they go from the enthusiast. This is straight from Ken Blanchard from the 1 Minute Manager, from the enthusiastic beginner and to the frustrated learner, to the cautious but capable contributor, and the self-reliant achiever. Now, notice I have them in the different horses' personality types because the self-reliant Dante, the self-reliant achiever over here, he gets there pretty quick. He's a fast learner. He picks up things good quickly, and he's good at being just give me something to do and leave me alone. Please don't look over my shoulder while I'm doing it, or I will resent you. And I'd rather resent me for not showing up, right? So Dante's are self-forget, they're pretty quick, and they need a very different management style. And each individual horse needs a different management style as they go through these phases, and it gets complex and it gets deep. So I want you to think about the environment that you are creating for your team and what are the things that are important. If I just even look around this very simple barn with my personal horses, I have a lot of things to think about. I've got multiple brooms, I've got wheelbarrows, and we got to clean the stalls. How often do we have to clean the stalls, Mackenzie? Every day, right? And you're like, oh, it's kind of like having kids. Well, isn't a team just kids, but professionally and on a peer level and mentoring level and not a parental level? But what's the difference? Is that you're showing them a way to work cohesively together, to have clear communication. And we learned that from the horses. One of the things that's really interesting about horses is that, yes, they know the way home, but they will burn a lot of times. Horses will run back into a barn that is on fire. Yeah, it's crazy to see that they will go back in when it's on fire because that's home. That's what feels safe. And that's dysfunctional. There's a great parabolic story out there called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And that would be one of them. Staying at a job too long or keeping an employee too long. One of the things I've learned is it's not the employee you don't hire that ruins your business. It's the employee that you don't fire that will take you down. because their negativity or their level of frustration or whatever is adding poison to the team. So you think about what kind of environment as a leader are you creating for your team? And because out of all of the things people are asked, what's important to you, it's not generally money. If it's money, you go become an entrepreneur, right? But it's generally, if somebody is coming to work on your team, number one thing, work environment. I want to work in a good work environment. I want it to be like here, I'm out in nature. I have like some people are coming here to just be here to work and just co-work together and create a beautiful space or work on writing their book because this is a beautiful environment. I can hear the birds chirping. I have horses roaming around eating hay. There's grass, and it's just paradise. So physically, I have a beautiful work environment. Right. And then I have like all these great employees. I got my team members here. There they are. Like these guys, guess what? They are on 24/7. If I wanted to come out and shoot a video at 12 at midnight, they would be like, okay, they just show up. And how are you taking care of the workhorses in your life? And when I mean workhorses, these guys, I'm not meaning how fast they can run or how high they can jump. There's a lot of value in what you can have on your team that isn't necessarily based on next quarter's earnings. A lot of corporations, all they care about is next quarter, next quarter, next quarter, especially if there's high turnover or low culture. So you look at where you are and what does your home look like? What does your work home look like? Do you have a good setup? Are you taking care of your people? Are you being vulnerable to them so they can feel permission and open to be vulnerable to you? Or are you creating something that is dysfunctional? And when you, as the leader, start building your team, running a tight ship, like I love Donald Miller's story brand. He doesn't talk about core values, although I think those are important too. He talks about the key characteristics of your team. So if you attract people that are like for me, it's about having truth, transparency, and trust. The open door policy in open barn door policy, right? To really have people that are unbelievably adaptable. If you can't be adaptable, you can't be around me because I'm always changing things up. But it's not the strongest that survive. It's the most adaptable, right? So we have these key characteristics that we're looking for, but what are you doing to attract that? If you want those people on your team, are you willing to help them get through frustrated learner? Because I don't care how confident you are or what your skill set is. At some point you go, man, you get a little cognitive dissonance and you go, man, I didn't know I had to clean the stalls every day. That's a little frustrating. Or I didn't realize I would have to do this. You feel frustration either towards the situation, your leader, or yourself if you're in the employee. As the leader, you feel frustration towards yourself, the employee, or the situation. And you have to resolve that in a way that's supportive. And the way I break it down is these guys, you need to be directive. You need to be more directive in your approach. Be very clear, speak very slowly, and break things down in a way that they can look at the sheet and complete the task. They call it, I call it McDonald's dumb. Be that like that. McDonald's has these massive manuals that break down every single tiny detail of how to flip a burger, right? Or how to run the fryer. But it makes it that much more simple for the people that are excited about something new. An enthusiastic beginner then quickly becomes the frustrated learner when they fry themselves, they burn themselves because they didn't flip the burger right, or they aren't getting paid enough for whatever they're doing, or the juice is no longer, whatever it is. So here you need to be more supportive, right? And this does not mean that you have to live here forever, guys. It really just depends on the length of progression of each of the different categories and knowing how to create the home environment that your team needs wherever they happen to be here, right? So in the beginning, very, very clear and directive step by step as they come in, then being more supportive, like really like acknowledging, looking for any chance, look for the positive, look for the positive, because you're looking for any chance to reward them so they feel supported. Because if you can get through this part, you guys, this frustrated learner part, and they start trying after the first flames of enthusiasm burn out, You could hear, then you have somebody that is a sustainable and longer term member of your team once they get here, because now you can coach them on things, right? There's times when I was talking to Mackenzie and I'm like, she's been here a month, not even a month. And I'm like, well, I can tell you now, but I couldn't have told you like the first week you were here, or the first 5 minutes, because she wasn't ready to hear it, because she wasn't in a place where she was able to listen and be coached, because we need to go through directive and supportive first. It happens to everybody. It happens to me too. And when you can get to the place where you're coaching, that doesn't mean you're not going to come back here if they lose confidence, right? So if you think about it, this is almost like a confidence wheel where it would go this direction. Because once they become a self-reliant achiever in their job and they're kicking butt, what do? You promote them to a new something, and they become an enthusiastic beginner again. So you come back here and now, okay, delegate. This stuff is where you can just delegate. The delegate has to have clear parameters, because Dantes tend to be loose cannons and just be like, I think I'll do it this way. Which, when you want that innovation, you just open the gate and they all go free. I can't tell you how many times I have had an open gate that Dante looked at, then he looked at me, gauged how far away it was from that open gate, and made a run for it and beat me pretty much every time, because you just need to get out of their way. With Dante's, delegate, create the parameters, and then get out of their way. Right. And that's really what all of us want. We want an environment of what? Peace and tranquility. Got that here. Something fun and creative. Got that here. Something that pays my bills and creates a sustainable lifestyle. Working on that here. Right. So that's what we're looking at. And that's how you have a virtuous cycle of growth. So these are kind of a great way to sort of peel back the layers and looking at the people that you have in your life. Because you watched my live yesterday about how Bella's finally learning how to do a circle. She's like enthusiastic, and she's going to stay in this phase longer. She's going to be or she's going to be really enthusiastic. The more enthusiastic she is at a beginner, the lower it's going to feel when she comes over here to the frustrated learner, because she's high, and then she needs to go low. And then they wonder, did I make the right decision? We have some cognitive dissonance. We have some, can I trust myself? That I did the right thing and that I can continue through, right? So you got a lot of high energy here. You got not so much and then you drop down, and then you have a little bit more believability in yourself, and you start asking questions, and you start getting information, and you start trying things out, and you start getting supported and coached, right? So these things can go back and forth either way, depending on where your level of confidence is and what triggers you're dealing with. It's just something we cover in my persona intelligence course. So looking at that, it's not how fast can I become a self-reliant achiever. It's how do I feel as I am going through this process? How do I feel about myself? And I'm talking about from the employee's perspective. And when you can take a new staff member, and if you've attracted the right talent with those key characteristics that are important to your business, you can pour a lot into them, because you can always get more clients. You can always get more customers. A team is really that professional inner circle that you need to be able to have a certain level of trust and communication with and confidence with, especially if the team is small or as the team starts to grow. If you can have those clean lines as you grow and have a strong development of culture from the beginning, you won't have as many weeds to pull as the garden grows. I know I don't mind picking a few little weeds out when it's all pretty and new, but man, when those weeds take over, it's a project. And then you have to do something like come here for a weekend and untangle all the weeds, right? No, I'm kidding, but not really. So just put yourself in a position to understand what this can actually teach you and how working with these horses can show you the way home. So I hope that's powerful. What environment are you building for your team, and how you can create that more for yourself while believing in what you're doing? It will change your life. I'm Jen Zoe. Thanks for tuning in, and welcome to Zenergen.